Well, as well as trying to unite a nation divided by one of the most vitriolic presidential campaigns in years, Donald Trump also faces the enormous task of assembling a government and making good on the promises he made to the American electorate. Joining me to discuss that are two Washington insiders on what we can expect in the first 100 days of a Trump presidency. They are the Republican strategist Ron Phillips and the Democratic strategist Bob Weiner. Welcome to you both.
Pleasure, Adam.
Ron, what's going to happen? What is the priority now for Donald Trump?
I think where we're looking now is a very slow, measured transition from one administration to the next. So you're going to, as you saw before with President Obama, President-elect Trump meeting together, talking about transition, laying out the agenda of just basically the normal functioning of government and how we are going to transition. Also, there's many things that are going on the world stage that President-elect Trump has to be brought up to speed on now that he is the next president of the United States, and we're seeing that cooperation with him and President Obama.
Bob, what are you expecting from him?
Well, it's a little more tense than that, but it's actually working like light speed. The last transition took a week before the winner went to the White House, and now President Obama had Trump in a day and a half, and he's trying to be very cooperative. But the residue is still there, Adam. And the point that the Republicans last time said they would do everything to block Obama, the Democrats are going to try to set a good model. And with Trump having said that his three priorities right away are infrastructure, jobs, health care, and immigration, Democrats will work with him as long as he doesn't really tear up the planet by his positions.
I mean, what do you think? Those priorities, I mean, infrastructure, I suppose it's fairly easy for everyone to agree on that. But getting rid of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, has to be controversial, and immigration is controversial.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the Americans just went to the polls and voted, and what is the American Brexit and what we just saw in the November elections here. And part of that was the Affordable Care Act, the Obamacare piece of legislation. People got hit with incredible rate hikes, breaking families. People were being fined by the IRS. The IRS is an enforcement arm of the Affordable Care Act, being hunted down by the IRS. There's going to be great reform that has to occur, and it is going to occur.
But more people did get health care. Can Donald Trump afford to reverse that?
Well, Ron, I have to, in all due respect, a pretty strange answer when it was the Republicans that stopped the fixes like the subsidies, like expansion of Medicaid, the issues which now that the Republicans have to govern, and they claim they will replace and repair in addition to fixing Obamacare. Now they actually have to do those things. And when I hosted the Republican campaign chair and you asked what he would replace it with, it was the same provisions that are in Obamacare now. It was pre-existing conditions, it was lifetime caps, it was keep the 20 million people. So there's a bit of hypocrisy in terms of this whole issue on Obamacare, and it can be fixed, and now it's up to the Republicans to make sure that it's fixed, not destroyed, or as Joe Scarborough said on his show in the morning, he said that otherwise you're going to lose Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Florida, because those people are relying on health care. So the Republicans can't afford that.
This election was not based on health care alone.
This
election was based on a whole litany of issues, from immigration, open borders, complete loss of our national security along the western on the borders. I mean, the healthcare in itself, you're looking at a system that has failed.
Okay.
I mean, how many times do you have to look at a system that has failed? It is bankrupt. The systems are shutting down state by state.
Okay.
They can't afford it.
All right.
The IRS are vexed. I don't understand how you can throw roses on this or poppies and say that this is a good system. It's not a good system.
No, all right, but my question,
socialism doesn't work.
No, but my question
This is a private sector system. It's a private sector system, and that was a compromise with the Republicans.
My question to you, the same as I asked Bob, can the administration afford to exclude people from the healthcare net who now have it as a result of the Affordable Care?
I think what you're going to see is a comprehensive approach on how not to try to exclude people, but give them more options. Allow them to go beyond state boundaries, and let them to have more availability and not restrict them in a socialistic structure
I got to respond to that, Adam, because socialism is not using the private sector insurance companies, which was the compromise that Obama really did on health care.
Private insurance companies are bailing out because you can't sit there and force them to take care of the unfunded.
Because you're not doing the subsidies.
Let's move on. The wall.
You can't bankrupt the country for subsidies.
Immigration, stopping immigration.
Right.
Is that going to happen?
Well, actually, Ron and I will have an agreement on that. He worked for Duncan Hunter, who created fencing back in the 80s, and it passed the House of Representatives. So there may be some fencing, maybe 700 or 800 extra miles of it, but there also has to be more enforcement. But the flaw in the logic, Adam, is there are fewer people coming from Mexico than going back to Mexico now. This is one of the great myths, is that there's this enormous problem, when in fact Mexicans provide great workers in the United States, and they aren't coming in droves anymore. So there's less to fix than meets the eye.
We do agree we need a wall, and we're going to build a wall. The one thing we don't agree on, you don't build a wall when people are leaving. You build a wall when, and it's not just a Mexican problem, it's a Central American problem.
Right.
We've even captured people that are from Arab countries coming across the border. It is a security risk to this country.
Mexico's not going to pay for it, though, is it?
Oh, I think Mexico's going to pay for it.
People forget the truth on that one, Adam. Nobody got the point that Trump said it would be on balance of payments. And when you do balance of trade and then there's less, I mean, there's ways to fudge claiming that Mexico paid for it.
Okay, now...
any economic model.
Right.
All right, give me some names now, because Donald Trump is not a professional politician. In a sense, he's going to appoint professional politicians to his administration. He's sort of handed over. Who do you expect to get the top jobs?
At this time, I really don't, because that's really the essence. I mean, right now the media is coming out with this list of politician after politician after politician. You just elected the most unpolitician that you could find. And I think that you're going to see more industry leaders, more businessmen come into higher levels of this government and create a different scenario. I would tell you that I wouldn't be surprised to see Senator Sessions from Alabama becoming the Secretary of Defense. You could see Duncan Hunter Jr. being the Secretary of the Navy. I think that he's going to reach out to people who have got long, strong careers in the defense community and that are war fighters and understand that there is a war that's going on. And I think those will be probably some of the top priorities.
Well, I've got a little bit different answer, because the media is talking to Trump campaign sources, and certainly Ben Carson is on the list, certainly Newt Gingrich is on the list, Chris Christie after he gets through his Bridgegate trial in a couple of months. I can't imagine he picks him before that. There's actually a Democrat woman who's on the options for Secretary of Labor, and the private sector that Ron is talking about, the corporate leaders that Trump has said he will rely on also. So there are going to be some people, Giuliani for Attorney General possibly.
Oh, yeah. Giuliani.
So,
I think that would probably be your top
number
one thing. You're talking about a man who's run RICO cases,
and
you're talking about his credentials that have taken down the mob in New York City. And now we will turn our attention in the judiciary towards the Clinton Foundation.
But one thing that I heard Giuliani do was fudge now that the campaign is over in terms of talking about prosecuting Hillary and the Clinton Foundation. By the way, they better be careful, because Trump is still under judicial watch and investigations in New York and around the country in terms of the Trump Foundation, where he actually has been shut down for raising money, and there's a trial going on the fraud of Trump University.
Well, there's
those trials and the women who were abused. Those trials are still ongoing.
Beyond the little potato, there's 5 FBI field officers investigating the Clinton Foundation. And there's a RICO case being built as
Do you think he is going to put a special prosecutor
I think he puts a special
on Hillary Clinton?
Absolutely. I believe that he will put Giuliani in. They will appoint a special prosecutor, and he'll say, I'll let her defend herself in the court of law.
Okay, we shall see. Thank you both very much indeed for joining us. Neil, back to you.